Ambassador Kang Minho sat in the cold metal chair, staring at the massive dome above him. The Galactic Council chamber stretched out like a giant bowl, filled with thousands of alien beings from across the galaxy. Their strange voices echoed through the air as they spoke in languages that hurt his ears. Some looked like giant insects, others like walking trees, and a few resembled nothing he could describe. Minho had been coming to these meetings for 15 years. Every time he hoped things would be different. Every time he left feeling smaller than when he arrived. Today felt worse than usual. The Velkan delegate rose from his seat. Thrixaval stood nearly 3 meters tall, his 4 arms clicking together as he spoke. His voice sounded like grinding metal when he used the translation device. The Council has reached a decision about the human expansion request, Thrixaval announced. His compound eyes reflected the chamber's lights like broken glass. After careful consideration, we have determined that humans may colonize exactly 3 star systems in the Outer Rim territories. Minho felt his stomach drop. 3 systems. Humanity had requested permission to expand into 50 systems. Their home worlds were becoming crowded. Earth held 12 billion people now. Mars and Luna colonies were full. They needed room to grow. These 3 systems have been chosen for their suitability to lesser species. Thrixaval continued. The words hit Minho like a physical blow. Lesser species. That's what they called humans. Always. Dr. Park Nari watched from the observation deck above. She was Earth's chief scientist on the station, sent to study alien biology and technology. For 20 years, she had tried to prove that humans deserved respect. She had shown the Council human achievements in medicine, engineering, and art. They always nodded politely and then ignored everything she said. Now she watched as the Council voted on humanity's future like they were deciding what to have for lunch. All in favor of restricting human expansion to 3 designated systems? Thrixaval called out. Lights began appearing across the chamber. Green lights meant yes. Red lights meant no. Nari counted them as they flickered on. Green, green, green. Hundreds of green lights filled the dome like 6 stars. When the counting ended, the numbers appeared on the main screen. 847 votes in favor. 1 vote against. Only Minho had voted no. The measure passes, Thrixaval declared. Humans will be restricted to systems 47 Alpha, 52 Gamma, and 61 Delta. These systems offer adequate resources for your people's simple needs. Minho stood up slowly. His legs felt weak, but his voice came out strong and clear. The Earth government will need time to consider this decision. Several aliens made sounds that might have been laughter. One delegate, a creature that looked like a floating jellyfish, spoke through its translator. Consider? What is there to consider? The Council has spoken. Your species will comply as always. As always, Minho repeated quietly. He gathered his papers and walked toward the exit. His footsteps echoed in the suddenly quiet chamber. Up in the observation deck, Nari pulled out her communication device. She typed a short message. Decision made. 3 systems only. Situation critical. She sent the message to Captain Lee Sung-ho aboard the human diplomatic ship New Seoul, which orbited the Council station. Sung-ho had been waiting for this message. He had been waiting for months. Sung-ho read the message twice, then looked at his crew. Lieutenant Choi Hana sat at the communications station. Engineer Kim Woo-jin monitored the ship's systems. Pilot O. Jin-woo kept his hands ready on the controls. They all knew what was coming. Message from Ambassador Kang, Sung-ho announced to his crew. Protocol 7. The bridge went silent. Protocol 7 was not something they discussed openly. It was a plan they had prepared in secret, hoping they would never need to use it. "Are you sure, Captain?" Hana asked. Sung-Ho nodded. "Send the coded transmission to Earth. Tell them it's time." On Earth, President Kim Ji-won stood in her office looking out at the city of New Geneva. The United Earth government had moved here 50 years ago when they first made contact with the Galactic Council. Back then, everyone thought it would be the beginning of a golden age for humanity. Instead, it had been 50 years of humiliation. Ji-won's communication device buzzed. She read the message from Captain Sung-Ho and felt something cold settle in her chest. She had known this day would come. She had prepared for it. But knowing and experiencing were different things. She walked to the United Earth Assembly Building. The Great Hall was already full. Representatives from every nation and colony sat waiting. They knew something important was happening. The tension in the air felt thick enough to cut. Ji-won stepped up to the podium. The hall fell silent. "My fellow humans," she began, her voice carrying to every corner of the room. "For 50 years, we have tried to be good members of the galactic community. We have followed their rules. We have accepted their limits. We have swallowed their insults and smiled when they called us primitive." Murmurs rippled through the assembly. Everyone knew where this was heading. Today, the Galactic Council voted to restrict our expansion to 3-star systems, 3 systems for 12 billion people. They have decided that we are too simple, too lesser, to deserve more. The murmurs grew louder. Some representatives stood up. They have made their position clear, Ji-won continued, her voice rising. They do not see us as equals. They never have. They never will. She paused, looking out at the faces before her. Human faces. Faces full of hope and anger and determination. "Today, that ends," she declared. "I am ordering the immediate recall of all human ambassadors from Galactic Council space. All diplomatic ties with the Council are hereby severed. Humanity will no longer play by their rules." The assembly erupted. Representatives jumped to their feet, cheering and applauding. The sound was deafening. Back on the Council station, Choi, Hana received the confirmation message from Earth. She looked at Captain Sung-Ho, who nodded once. Hana opened a channel to the Council's communications center. "This is the human diplomatic vessel New Soul," she announced. "We are transmitting our final message to Earth Command." She paused, thinking about the words she had practiced so many times. Message received and confirmed. All human personnel are withdrawing from Council space immediately. Humanity is going dark. She closed the channel and began shutting down all their communication links to the Council network. Ambassador Kang Min-ho had just reached his quarters when the lights went out. Emergency power kicked in a moment later, bathing everything in red light. He smiled for the first time in years. Outside his window, he could see the New Soul pulling away from the station. Other human ships were doing the same thing all across the galaxy. After 50 years of being treated like children, humanity was finally walking away from the adults' table. The real question was what would happen next. But for the first time in decades, humans would face that future on their own terms. 3 weeks had passed since the humans disappeared from Council space. At first, nobody thought much about it. Humans were quiet creatures anyway. Most aliens barely noticed when they were around. But now, things were falling apart. Council Speaker. Veltar stood in his private office, staring at reports that made no sense. His blue skin had turned pale with worry. As leader of the Galactic Council, he had dealt with many problems before: wars between species, trade disputes, political arguments. But nothing like this. How can one small species cause so much trouble? He asked his assistant, a thin creature named Zixmore. The reports keep coming in, Zixmore replied, his voice shaking. The shipping lanes are blocked. The communication networks are failing. Even our food delivery systems have stopped working. Veltar looked at the first report. The Zephyrian merchant fleets controlled most trade in the galaxy. They were proud, efficient aliens who had never failed to deliver goods on time. Now their ships sat dead in space. The problem was simple but devastating. The Zephyrians had bought their faster-than-light engines from human companies 20 years ago. The engines were cheap, reliable, and easy to maintain. The Zephyrians had replaced their old engines with human ones across their entire fleet. Now those engines were breaking down. The Zephyrians tried to fix them, but they didn't understand how the engines worked. The humans had always sent repair teams when needed. Without those teams, the engines just stopped working one by one. Captain Mortek of the Zephyrian flagship sent desperate messages to the Council. We need human technicians immediately. Half our fleet cannot move. Our crews are stranded in deep space, but there were no human technicians to send. They had all gone home. The second report was worse. 17 major trade routes had stopped working completely. These routes connected dozens of worlds and carried food, medicine, and basic supplies to billions of aliens. The routes had been planned and managed by human logistics companies. Humans were good at organizing complex systems. They could track thousands of ships, predict delays, and solve problems quickly. Other species found this work boring and difficult. When the humans left, they took all their planning data with them. The aliens who tried to take over the routes didn't know how to read the human computer systems. Ships got lost. Cargo ended up on the wrong planets. Some worlds started running out of food. But the third report was the one that really scared Veltar. The Council's own communication network was failing. For 200 years, the network had connected every Council world instantly. Messages could travel across the galaxy in minutes. It was the backbone of their civilization. What the Council didn't know was that humans had been quietly maintaining the network for decades. Human engineers had improved the system, fixed problems, and kept everything running smoothly. They did this work in the background, invisible to most aliens. Now the network was developing errors. Messages arrived late or not at all. Some planets had lost contact completely. The Council couldn't coordinate its response to the crisis because they couldn't even talk to each other properly. Veltar called an emergency meeting of the Inner Council. Only 12 members could attend because the others couldn't receive the meeting announcement. "This is impossible," declared Council member Thrixaval, the same Velkan who had announced the human restrictions. "How could such a primitive species be so important? We barely noticed them." "That was the problem," replied Council member Yathara, a wise old creature who had opposed the human restrictions. "We never paid attention to what they actually did. We only saw them as inferior." General Korthax, the Council's military leader, presented the security reports. These were even more disturbing. Human military forces had been small and scattered across Council space. Most aliens thought of them as weak and unimportant. Human soldiers were often hired as guards or police officers for alien worlds because they worked cheaply and followed orders. But when the humans left, they didn't just quit their jobs. They took their prisoners with them. Commander Juan Taman led a small fleet of human ships that appeared wherever humans were being held against their will. Some humans had been working as slaves on mining worlds. Others had been imprisoned for minor crimes. A few had been held as research subjects. Taman's ships moved fast and struck without warning. They would appear near a planet, rescue any humans. They found and disappear before the local defenses could respond. The aliens tried to stop them, but the human ships used tactics no one had seen before. The humans combined different types of alien technology in ways that shouldn't work, but somehow did. They mixed Keldon energy shields with Thraxian weapons and Boltari engines. The result was ships that could outfight vessels 3 times their size. "They're not fighting like humans," General Korthax reported. "They're fighting like they learned. From every species in the galaxy, our own tactics don't work against them." But the strangest reports came from the pleasure worlds, where rich aliens went to relax and enjoy themselves. These worlds employed many humans as servants, entertainers, and guides. Yoon Suman had worked on Helix Prime for 5 years. She served drinks to wealthy aliens and smiled when they made jokes about humans being simple and stupid. She had learned to speak 17 alien languages and understood their cultures better than most aliens understood each other. When the recall order came, Suman didn't just leave. She and other humans working on pleasure worlds began sabotaging everything they could reach. Resort computers started displaying embarrassing personal information about the guests. Luxury hotels found their climate controls broken, making rooms too hot or too cold. Expensive restaurants discovered their food processors were making everything taste terrible. The aliens couldn't figure out what was happening. The systems had worked perfectly for years. Now they were failing in ways that seemed almost deliberate. "It's like they understood our technology better than we do," reported the manager of the Grand Resort on Helix Prime. "How is that possible?" On Earth, Dr. Shin Do-yun was working day and night in his laboratory. As head of the Terran Research Initiative, he had been preparing for this moment for years. He had secretly collected samples and data on every piece of alien technology humans had encountered. Now he led Project Prometheus, a massive effort to reverse engineer and improve everything the aliens had taught them. Thousands of human scientists and engineers worked in hidden facilities across the solar system. "We've been too dependent on them," Do-hyun told his research teams. "We let them give us their old technology while they kept the best for themselves. Never again." The humans had learned more than the aliens realized. They had watched, studied, and understood. Now they were using that knowledge to build something new. Back in the council chambers, Veltar read the final report of the day. It was short but terrifying. Human colonies outside council space had started expanding rapidly. They were building new settlements, establishing trade relationships with independent worlds, and developing technologies the council had never seen before. "They're not just leaving us," Veltar realized. "They're becoming something else. Something we might not be able to control." For the first time in council history, the galaxy's most powerful organization was facing a problem it didn't know how to solve. 6 months had passed since humanity left council space. The galaxy was learning things about humans that made many aliens very uncomfortable. Captain Lim Haejin stood on the bridge of her exploration ship, the Busan Dawn. Through the main screen, she could see another planet that could support human life. It was the 12th one her team had found this month. "Atmosphere is good," reported her science officer. "Water sources confirmed. No dangerous life forms detected." Haejin smiled. "Mark it on the charts. Send the coordinates to the colony planning." office. Her crew cheered quietly. Finding one habitable planet usually took alien exploration teams several years. The humans were finding dozens in weeks. The secret was simple, but powerful. While other species sent out single ships to explore, slowly and carefully, humans sent out hundreds of small, fast ships that worked together. They covered huge areas of space in patterns the aliens had never thought to try. More importantly, humans were willing to take risks that other species avoided. They would land on planets that seemed dangerous, explore areas that looked difficult, and try things that more careful aliens would never attempt. "Captain," called her communications officer, "we're getting a message from the Hegemony Patrol Fleet. They want to know what we're doing in their territory." Hagen looked at the sector map. According to Galactic Council records, this area belonged to the Hegemony Alliance, but humans no longer recognized Council authority. "Tell them we're exploring unclaimed space," she replied. "If they have a problem with that, they can file a complaint with someone who cares." The hegemony ships tried to follow the Busan Dawn, but the human vessel disappeared into hyperspace before they could react. Haijin's ship was using new navigation technology that the aliens had never seen before. Dr. Nam Jihoon was the man responsible for that technology. Working in a secret laboratory on Luna, he had spent months combining different alien technologies in ways their creators never imagined. He took quantum computers from the Thraxians, bio-neural networks from the Keldans, and energy manipulation systems from the Zephyrians. Then he added something uniquely human: intuition. The problem with alien navigation, Jihoon explained to his research team, is that it's too logical. They calculate every possible route and pick the safest one. That takes time. His new system was different. It used human brain patterns to make quick decisions about navigation routes. A human pilot could feel the right direction to go, even through dangerous areas of space. The computer would then calculate the exact path in seconds instead of hours. "We call it consciousness-assisted navigation," Jihoon said. "The aliens think in straight lines. Humans think in curves and shortcuts." The results were amazing. Human ships could now travel 3 times faster than alien vessels and reach places that were supposedly impossible to get to. Meanwhile, pilot O Minji was proving that humans had learned more about fighting than anyone realized. She flew a simple cargo hauler called the Lucky Dragon, carrying supplies between human colonies. When 6 hegemony patrol ships surrounded her near the Vega system, they expected an easy capture. Humans were supposed to be weak and cowardly in battle. Instead, Minji turned her cargo ship into a weapon. She had modified the Lucky Dragon with spare parts and salvaged equipment. The ship looked like an ordinary freighter, but hidden inside were shield generators from 3 different alien species, weapons that fired different types of energy, and armor plating that could absorb almost any attack. The hegemony ships attacked. With standard patrol tactics, they surrounded the cargo ship and fired coordinated strikes at its engines and weapons. But Minji didn't fight like they expected. She used the cargo ship's loading arms as weapons, grabbing one patrol ship and throwing it into another. She fired her engines at full power to create a cloud of superheated gas that blinded the enemy sensors. She even used the ship's gravity generators to pull asteroids into the path of incoming missiles. The battle lasted 12 minutes. When it was over, 4 hegemony ships were disabled and the other 2 were running away. The Lucky Dragon had some scratches on its hull. "This is impossible," the hegemony fleet commander reported to his superiors. "A single human cargo ship defeated our entire patrol squadron. Their pilot fought like she had studied our tactics for years." That was exactly what had happened. For 50 years, humans working in alien military forces had been learning how every species fought. They studied alien weapons, tactics, and strategies. They learned the weaknesses and strengths of every major power in the galaxy. Now they were using that knowledge. The recording of Minji's battle spread across the galaxy through underground communication networks. Aliens who had thought of humans as harmless began to realize they had been very wrong. General Korthax sat in his office, reading intelligence reports that made him feel sick. As the Council's top military officer, he had always dismissed humans as a minor threat. Now he wasn't sure his forces could fight them at all. "How many human soldiers were serving in our military?" he asked his aide. "Approximately 40,000. Across all council forces," the aide replied. Most of them held low-ranking positions as guards, technicians, and support staff. "And now they're all gone," Korthax said quietly, "taking everything they learned with them." The reports painted a terrifying picture. Humans had served in almost every alien military organization. They had seen how alien weapons worked, how alien strategies were planned, and how alien defenses were organized. They had been taking notes for decades. "Sir," his aide continued, "we're also receiving reports that human technology has advanced dramatically since they left Council space. They're using combinations of alien technologies that we never thought were possible." Korthax looked at detailed analysis reports from his best scientists. The humans were doing things that violated basic scientific principles. They were mixing technologies from species that had been enemies for centuries. They were creating hybrid systems that shouldn't work but somehow did. "How is this possible?" he demanded. His chief scientist, Dr. Vexthal, had been studying human innovation for months. "We think it's because humans don't understand why things are impossible," she explained. "Other species learn the rules and follow them. Humans learn the rules and then break them to see what happens." "You mean they're too stupid to know when something won't work?" "No, sir. I mean they're too creative to accept that something won't work. When we see a problem, we look for a solution that fits our existing knowledge. When humans see a problem, they invent a completely new type of solution." The reports included examples that made Korthax's head hurt. Humans had built ships that used Thraxian biometal hulls with Keldan energy cores and Zephyrian navigation systems. According to everything the aliens knew, those technologies were incompatible. The human ships worked perfectly. "General," his aide said quietly, "there's something else. Our projections show that human technological advancement has exceeded our estimates by over 300%. At their current rate of development, they'll surpass most council species within 5 years. Korthax felt a chill run down his spine. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying we didn't limit them because they were inferior, sir. We limited them because we were afraid of what they might become." The general looked out his window at the stars. Somewhere out there, humans were building a civilization that might soon be more advanced than anything the galaxy had ever seen. "And now," he whispered, "we've made them our enemies." Word traveled fast across the galaxy, even through the Council's failing communication networks. Stories of human victories, human kindness, and human prosperity reached planets that had never seen hope before. The Corvani had been slaves for 300 years. Their home world of SciFiPrime was controlled by the Hegemony Alliance, who used the Corvani as cheap labor in dangerous mines. The Corvani were small, quick creatures with 4 arms, perfect for working in tight spaces. Elder. Tikara had been born in the mines. Her parents died in the mines. Her children worked in the mines. She had never known freedom, only different degrees of suffering. Then the human ships arrived. Admiral Bang Hyun-woo commanded the Human Liberation Fleet, a massive group of ships dedicated to rescuing oppressed beings throughout the galaxy. His flagship, the New Harmony, appeared in orbit around Corvan Prime without warning. The hegemony defenders were caught completely off guard. They had expected human ships to be small and weak. Instead, they faced vessels that combined the best technology from dozens of different species. The human ships moved with impossible speed and struck with devastating accuracy. "This is Admiral Bang Hyun-woo of the Human Liberation Fleet." His voice echoed across every communication channel on the planet. "We are here to offer freedom to any being who wants it. The days of slavery are ending." The hegemony forces tried to fight back, but their weapons couldn't penetrate the human shields. Their ships couldn't match the human speed. Within hours, the orbital defenses were destroyed and human dropships were landing on the planet's surface. But the humans didn't come as conquerors. They came as liberators. Tikara watched in amazement as human soldiers handed out weapons to her people. Not just guns, but tools and technology that could help the Corvani fight for themselves. "We're not here to rule you," explained Captain Kim Dong-yun, the human leading the ground forces. "We're here to give you the power to rule yourselves." The humans had studied Corvani history and culture. They understood how the Corvani fought, what they needed to survive, and what kind of government would work best for them. Within days, they had helped organize a Corvani resistance army. The revolution spread across the planet like wildfire. Mine workers put down their tools and picked up weapons. Guards who had been forced to watch over slaves joined the rebellion. Even some hegemony citizens, disgusted by slavery, helped the uprising succeed. Engineer Seo Jamin was working on the industrial world of Mortanis 7 when he received refugees from the Corvani liberation. Among them were Delvian craftsmen, aliens, known for their incredible precision and artistic skill. The Delvians had been forced to make luxury goods for rich hegemony citizens. Their work was beautiful but meaningless, creating pretty objects for people who had enslaved their friends and neighbors. "We want to build something that matters," Elder Craftsman Velnith told Jamin. "Something that helps instead of just looking nice." Jamin understood. He had been developing new manufacturing techniques that combined human efficiency with alien precision. The humans could make things quickly and cheaply. The aliens could make things perfectly and beautifully. Together, they created something neither could accomplish alone. The factories on Mortanis 7 began producing goods that amazed even the humans. Medical equipment that was both more effective and more affordable than anything the Council had made. Communication devices that worked better and lasted longer than alien technology. Even simple things like clothing and tools were dramatically improved. "The secret," Jamin explained to his mixed teams of human and alien workers, "is that we're not competing with each other. We're learning from each other." The factories became models for cooperation throughout human space. Different species working together, sharing knowledge and skills, creating things that benefited everyone. But the most important development was happening on the diplomatic level. Negotiator Kim Soon-hee had been tasked with creating something that had never existed before, a truly fair galactic government. The Galactic Council claimed to represent all species equally, but everyone knew that was a lie. Some species had more power than others. Some voices mattered more than others. The Free Worlds Alliance was designed to be different. Every member species gets the same number of votes. Sun He explained to representatives from 12 different worlds who had come to join the alliance. It doesn't matter how big your population is or how advanced your technology is. Every voice counts equally. The Alliance Charter was written in simple language that any species could understand. It guaranteed basic rights for all beings: freedom from slavery, the right to self-determination, fair treatment under law, and equal access to education and health care. More importantly, it was backed by human military power and human technological advancement. "We're not asking you to trust us because we're good," Sun He told potential members. "We're asking you to join us because we're strong enough to protect these principles." The alliance grew every day. Small worlds that had been ignored by the EID Council. Oppressed colonies that had been exploited by larger powers. Even some council members who were disgusted by their government's corruption. Each new member brought something valuable to the alliance. The Thelians contributed their knowledge of sustainable farming. The Brixtol shared their understanding of energy production. The Yith offered their expertise in education and philosophy. The humans took all this knowledge and improved it, then shared the improvements with everyone else. President Kim Ji-won watched the reports from her office on Earth. In 18 months, the Free Worlds Alliance had grown from a human idea to a galactic movement. 67 worlds had joined. Hundreds more had applied for membership. Meanwhile, the Galactic Council was falling apart. "Ma'am," her aide reported, "we're receiving another message from the Council. They want to negotiate." Ji-won looked at the message. It was from Council Speaker Veltar himself, asking for a meeting to discuss mutual concerns and shared interests. She laughed quietly. For 50 years, humans had begged for fair treatment from the Council. They had asked for respect, for equality, for simple recognition that they deserved basic rights. The Council had responded by limiting human expansion to 3 star systems. "Send a reply," Ji-won told her aide. "Tell Speaker Veltar that humanity appreciates his interest in negotiation. Remind him that the Free Worlds Alliance is always open to new members who are willing to accept our charter and live by our principles." Paused, thinking about the message she wanted to send. Also remind him that we offered cooperation for 50 years. We offered friendship and received exploitation. We offered partnership and received condescension. This is what they chose instead. The aide typed the message carefully. "Should I add anything else, ma'am?" "Yes," Ji-won said. "Tell him that if the Council wants to join the civilized galaxy, they know where to find us. But they come as equals, or not at all." As the message was sent across space, Ji-won looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there, humans and their allies were building a better galaxy. A galaxy where strength was used to protect the weak instead of exploiting them. A galaxy where different species could work together instead of fighting over scraps. It wasn't the galaxy the Council had offered them. It was the galaxy humanity had decided to build for itself. 2 years had passed since humanity cut all ties with the Galactic Council. The galaxy was a very different place now. Fleet Admiral Park Sungmin stood on the bridge of the Alliance flagship, watching the last evacuation ships leave Council space. The massive vessels carried thousands of beings who had chosen freedom over the comfort of the old system. "That's the final transport from Hegemony Space," reported his navigation officer. "All humans and Alliance citizens have been safely evacuated." Seung-min nodded. The evacuation had taken months, but they had rescued everyone who wanted to leave. Humans who had been trapped in Council territory. Aliens who had joined the Alliance cause. Even some Council citizens who were disgusted by their government's failures. Behind them, the Council's territory was collapsing. Without human engineers, their technology kept failing. Without human logistics experts, their trade routes had stopped working. Without human innovation, they couldn't solve the problems that kept growing worse every day. "Sir," his communications officer called out, "we're receiving a priority message from New Terra." New Terra was the capital world of the Free Worlds Alliance. It had been built from nothing in just 2 years, using the combined knowledge and skills of dozens of species. The planet now housed the Alliance government and served as a symbol of what cooperation could achieve. The message was from Dr. Kang Yora, humanity's greatest scientist, and the person responsible for their most amazing breakthrough. "Admiral," her recorded voice said, "Project Genesis is complete. We're ready for the demonstration." Sungmin smiled. He had been waiting for this announcement for months. Dr. Yura had been working on something that would change everything. Dimensional engineering. The ability to create pocket universes that could exist alongside normal space, but remain completely separate from it. The science was complicated, but the results were simple. Unlimited space for expansion, unlimited resources for development, an end to the territorial disputes and resource wars that had plagued the galaxy for thousands of years. "Set course for New Terra," Shungmin ordered. "I want to see this for myself." On New Terra, Prime Minister Joe Minsuk was having the busiest day of his political career. 17 former council worlds had applied to join the alliance, and all of them wanted to sign their membership treaties on the same day. Each world brought something valuable to the alliance. The mining world of Cathara offered rare metals. The agricultural planet of Verdania could feed millions of people. The research station on Proxima had advanced laboratories and scientific equipment. More importantly, each world brought people who were tired of the Council's corruption and ready to try something new. "The Catharans are ready to sign," his aide informed him. "So are the Verdanians and the Proximans. The others are still reviewing the charter." Minsuk looked at the alliance charter that lay on his desk. It was a simple document, written in language that any species could understand. Unlike the Council's thousands of pages of regulations and exceptions, the Alliance Charter fit on just 10 pages. The basic principles were clear. All members were equal, all beings had basic rights, and decisions were made by majority vote of all member worlds. No species was more important than any other. No world had special privileges. "Prime Minister," another aide approached, "the dimensional engineering demonstration is about to begin. Dr. Yora is ready." Minsuk walked to the observation deck where representatives from all the applying worlds waited. Through the large windows, they could see empty space above New Terra. Dr. Yora's voice came through the speakers. "Beginning dimensional fold in 3, 2, 1. The space above them seemed to twist and bend. Reality itself appeared to stretch like rubber before snapping back into a new shape. Where there had been nothing before, now there was something incredible. A new world hung in space above New Terra. Not a planet that had been moved from somewhere else, but a completely new world that had been created from pure energy and raw materials. "Ladies, gentlemen, and beings of all types," Dr. Yora announced, "I present to you the first artificially created pocket dimension, a complete world with its own atmosphere, water systems, and sustainable environment." The representatives stared in amazement. The implications were staggering. If humans could create new worlds from nothing, then there would never be a shortage of living space or resources again. "The process takes about 6 months per world," Dr. Yora continued. We can customize each dimension for the specific needs of different species. Ocean worlds for aquatic beings, high-gravity worlds for heavy worlders, whatever is needed. One of the Catharan representatives raised a tentacle. Is this technology being shared with all Alliance members? Of course, Dr. Yora replied. The Alliance doesn't believe in keeping secrets from our partners. All our advances are shared freely among member worlds. That was the moment when 17 worlds decided to join the Alliance. The signing ceremony took place in the Alliance Parliament building. Representatives from each world put their names on the membership treaty, while billions of beings watched through the quantum communication network that connected all Alliance worlds. Unlike the Council's slow, bureaucratic processes, Alliance membership was quick and simple. New members were welcomed immediately and given full voting rights from their first day. As the ceremony ended, Minsuk received an urgent message from his intelligence services. Sir, we're detecting a large fleet approaching Alliance space. It's flying Council flags. Minsuk wasn't surprised. The Council had been sending messages for months asking for negotiations. Each time, the Alliance had responded with the same answer. The Council was welcome to apply for membership like any other world, but they would receive no special treatment. The fleet that arrived at the Alliance border was not a war fleet. It was a diplomatic convoy led by a ship carrying the Council's most senior leaders. Former Ambassador Kang Minho, now serving as the Alliance's historical advisor, was chosen to meet with them. He had spent 15 years listening to Council speeches about human inferiority. Now the roles were reversed. Council Speaker Veltar looked much older than when Minho had last seen him. The stress of watching his civilization collapse had aged the alien leader dramatically. Ambassador Kang, Veltar began, the Council wishes to discuss terms for ending this conflict. There is no conflict, Minho replied calmly. There is simply the choice between the old way and the new way. The Council chose to treat some beings as inferior. The Alliance chooses to treat all beings as equals. But surely we can reach some agreement, Veltar pleaded. Some compromise that benefits everyone. Minho looked at the alien who had once dismissed humanity as a lesser species. The Alliance is open to all worlds that accept our charter and live by our principles. If the Council worlds wish to join us, they are welcome. If they prefer to continue with their old system, that is, their choice. You're asking us to give up everything we've built, Veltar said. No, Minho replied. We're asking you to give up everything that was built on the suffering of others. The Alliance offers something better, a galaxy where strength is used to protect the weak, where knowledge is shared freely, and where every being has the chance to reach their full potential. The negotiations continued for days, but the outcome was never in doubt. The Council had nothing left to offer except their surrender. 10 years later, Chancellor Lee Eugene stood in the same office where President Kim Ji-won had announced humanity's withdrawal from Council space. The galaxy had changed completely since then. The Free Worlds Alliance now included over 400 worlds. The old Galactic Council had been peacefully dissolved, its member worlds choosing to join the Alliance rather than cling to a system that no longer worked. Eugene looked at her daily reports. New colonies were being established in pocket dimensions. Scientific breakthroughs were being shared freely among all species. Former enemies were working together on projects that benefited everyone. Her aide knocked on the door. Chancellor, there's a young cadet here to see you. Cadet Han Siwoo. He's about to leave on humanity's first diplomatic mission to the Andromeda Galaxy. Eugen smiled. Han Siwu represented something wonderful, a human who had grown up in the Alliance, who had never known the humiliation of being treated as inferior, who was going to the stars not as a supplicant, but as an equal among equals. "Send him in," she said. Cadet Siwu entered the office, young and confident and ready to represent humanity to whatever civilizations waited in distant galaxies. Unlike his predecessors, he would go not seeking approval, but offering friendship, not begging for acceptance, but proposing cooperation. "Cadet," Eugen said, "remember that you carry with you the hopes of 400 worlds and thousands of species. Show them what we've learned, that the galaxy is big enough for everyone and strong enough to support us all." As Siwu left to join his ship, Eugen looked out at the stars and thought about how far they had all come. The galaxy that had once rejected humanity as inferior had become a galaxy that humanity had helped to heal. The Council had been wrong about humans being a lesser species, but they had been right about one thing. Humans were unsuitable for their stage, so humanity had built a better one.